guess just under like experiences, like healthcare
Yeah.
experience? Okay.
Yeah, and because I mean, even though it's not a paid experience, it's still an experience.
Right. Okay.
That's what I would do.
Okay.
Absolutely. I think that's huge.
Yeah. That's what, because someone was like, well, it doesn't really, I don't know how much that would actually count. I'm like, but we're still learning skills that are going to be useful. So,
I think it's great. I think it's amazing. And it shows that you're dedicated to healthcare.
right.
Can you guys still hear me?
Mhm.
Okay. There's my father-in-law's cutting wood. My mother-in-law's cleaning dishes. So I'm like, I don't know if they can hear me.
No, I hear like the
birds.
No, is it the birds? Or like
there are a bunch of birds out here.
I thought it was a wind chime. I love it.
Oh, I know. I love it out here. It's like my little Kansas paradise.
Yeah. So do you know what your next rotation will be yet, or do you not know?
Yeah. So next month I'm in psych, which I'm not like super jacked about. I wish I was, but my friend she had psych for her first rotation, and she said that the exam was actually harder than she thought, like needing to know like mechanism of actions of drugs, which I'm also learning most doctors don't know the mechanisms of action, which I was like, was trained to, and I enjoy knowing them, but it's hard to keep track of them all. Yeah. And it's like the majority of people they just know what they use. They don't know what the mechanism is. So anyway, yeah, but I've heard it's a pretty laid back rotation, which I chose because my wedding is next month. So I'm hoping it is as laid back as they say. Yeah. So anyway, yeah. Then in August, I have women's health, and I'm actually back here in Beloit, which I'm really excited about because there's so many deliveries, and one of them is one of my good friends. So I'm excited to do that, which I don't know. I guess I haven't talked to you guys at all this rotation, but I got to assist on 2 C-sections, and one of them I got to close. And it was just super fun. And yeah, and I get to like help with colonoscopies. Like he lets me control the scope, which is like a video game inside of someone's colon. Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. I was like, this is like literally a video game. That's what it is.
I know.
That's so exciting.
It's very
confusing. You've probably seen them.
No, it's very confusing on the screen. It's like backwards.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait a minute.
Where am I? And like, if you get lost in the mucosa, I'm like, how do I get out of here?
So your friend did psych her first rotation. So now wherever she did it and her preceptor for that, is that going to be your same exact spot and location for that as well?
It is. And that's not true for all of the rotations, but for this particular psych rotation, I think they're pretty much all the same. Yeah. A lot of places though have rotating preceptors, which I'm kind of glad I don't have that here. I've gotten to work with one other doc, which has been wonderful, but it's been nice to really like bond and build a relationship with my preceptor. Plus I knew him beforehand because my husband's from here and this is where I worked at the hospital. So that's something to keep in mind. If you do stick around, somewhere in Kansas City, or even if you don't, you can still like travel and request to do a rotation wherever you're comfortable, like with a provider that you know and that you've worked with, which is to me, it's just been so much more fun because I've gotten to do, I think, so much more. Like I've put Nexplanons in like 3 girls' arms now, and I've taken off lesions and sutured them up. And so I think knowing your preceptor makes them trust you, so you get to do more.
Then they let you do more. Yeah.
Right.
That's nice.
So, yeah.
Abby, what is your biggest strength, do you think? And you can just brag about yourself. What is your biggest strength?
Probably talking to people.
You want to be as a PA.
I'm really good, I think, at building relationships with people and talking to people and making them feel comfortable and like they can trust me. I love talking to people, and it is probably my biggest strength. I would say that's my biggest strength.
I know, but that's just easy for you, though. That's easy for you.
Right. Which is why,
you want to be as a PA though, like that.
Oh, like what do I do now?
Well, but I'm saying that you're working on now that you've seen or shadowed someone. You're like, that's what I want to be. I want to work on that so I can
be. Sorry. There's also a train here everywhere. Gosh, I can't go anywhere right now.
No, I love it.
Sorry, guys. That train is so annoying. Okay, so the type of PA I want to be like, gosh, I'm trying to think. There have been many providers that I've been like, I want to be like that. And I'm trying to think of the one that I said that about recently. Gosh, which PA was it that I was like, I want to be just like them? Well, the type of provider, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess, I want to be, something that I've noticed that I haven't seen that I really want. And I do think is somewhat of a strength of mine is educating the patient on what's going on in their body and why we need to treat it in a certain way, or like why we have certain approaches to that particular disease or whatever it may be, because a lot of people have no idea what the provider is saying, and they don't know why they're taking certain medications, and they don't know why they're doing this procedure. And I think that if we did that more, then patients would have more trust in the medical field, first of all, which has been waning, unfortunately, because of politics. So I think that we need to reinstill that trust in medicine and science. And I think that teaching them is the way to do that, because a lot of people just expect, general citizens to listen to them for no reason. And if you don't give them a reason to listen, then they're not going to. So
I love that. That's perfect, because there's so many times a patient will come back. I've noticed when I'm working with doctors, and they're frustrated. And it's because and the doctor's frustrated too after the patient leaves. And it's because, both parties are not being
on the same page.
They're not being compliant with each other. They're not trying to help the other person understand.
Right. It's like a lot of doctors get really mad at a non-compliant diabetic, but they don't take the time to explain in their terminology what diabetes is, what the medication is doing, and why they will die if they don't do X, Y, and Z. They don't talk to them about that. They just say, take these medications because I told you to. And
honestly, Abby, though, I feel like, you know what that is? Those are male doctors.
Almost always.
And it's not PAs. It's these doctors that you're like, yeah, I don't want to be like that.
No, they're super arrogant.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, my last preceptor was just like that. He literally like yelled at a patient one time for not knowing why he takes certain medications. And I'm like, that is all of America. He's not a scientist. Plus, did you really take the time to explain it to him? Like,
he's just probably taking it because doctor told him to, and he has no
idea
for. He's just like, okay, right. Someone told me to take it, so I will.
Yeah. And like,
yeah.
If you want to be that person, I respect you, but I still I think we should at least try and explain it to them. Especially if they're asking you like, well, I'm on so many medications. Why am I on these? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So.
Well, and I even see patients come in when for surgery, and it's usually older generations, and they think that they need to bring in all their medications that they take. And it's like bags on bags of pills.
Yeah. Like 20 to 30 medications a day. It's crazy. Yeah. And a lot of time, polypharmacy is a problem and it's not addressed. And they don't talk about it. And
I mean, older generations, they just trust doctors as if they're like God. And it kind of, kind of scares me a little bit. And Abby, I'm learning in emergency medicine. Like my PAs are saying to me, in PA school, you're taught to learn open-ended questions, but in the emergency, setting, like that does not work. And then I'm learning about older people that, you have to fish the information out of them.
Yeah.
It's not just so what surgeries have you had? It's like, I have to literally fish it out of you.
Mm-hmm. They have no idea.
And then if you cut them off, they're like, then they retract, and you're like, oh, we got to go back. We got to dial it in because I have to figure this out.
Yeah. It's sad because they think that, and it's really dangerous too if you go to like a, if you're on a trip and you go to some random ER and you don't remember what all you're on or why you're on it or what surgeries you've had or whatever it may be, or your family history. But we're also like, we're never taught why you should know those things in school. So I think it'd be beneficial if we introduce that earlier in life. Like, hey, you should know your family history because of this, and you should know all of these things. So,
well, and I think a common thing throughout, including myself, no one has a primary care physician.
It's starting to become less common.
Yeah, like
sure.
Whenever, and especially in the ER, I mean, it's like, so do you have a primary? And they're like, no. And here I am saying like, I don't have one either.
I find myself going to, if I have a problem, I find myself going to CVS Minute Clinic a lot because that's my insurance, and I don't have to take time to call the doctor and get in the next day when I can get in that same day.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even have insurance since I've gone back to school.
Yeah.
I'm just hoping, praying, knock on wood. Like I even got off birth control because I don't even use birth control for that. Like I had an ovarian cyst when I was in high school. And so I piggyback. And I talked to my gyno when I went back to school to get my bachelor's 2 years ago. And I was like, do I even have to be on this? Because I'm not going to pay $30 a month for a medication when I don't even use it. Like, we have safe sex. So it's not like I use birth control to like prevent.
Yeah.
My cysts only happened in high school. So like, it's not
like you needed it anymore. Yeah.
Well, and health keeps changing. And like, Abby, I was going to ask you, what are your thoughts about NPs right now? Like, do you hear any negativity from your classmates or professors? Because I'm not kidding you, 2 years ago, there was like a $40,000 to $50,000 increase or change in pay. And now it's like $1,000.
Change in what?
In pay scale for nurse practitioners and PAs in Missouri and Kansas. Now it's only a difference of $1,000.
Yeah. Well, it's really not surprising because Kansas is very NP heavy. Yeah, really NP heavy. Like they don't even have PAs where I work, and they don't like them because they had a bad experience with one. So, yeah, Kansas is not a PA friendly state.
Well, I'm noticing with orthopedics, they mix PAs with NPs because it's the same thing. You're taught on the job. They get along great. They do the same thing. But the reason why doctors want NPs is because they can pay them less than a PA, which makes no sense to me. It is so much harder to become an NP than a PA.
Really? Who told you that?
You have to have a nursing degree first. Then you have to get a bachelor's. Then you have to work for 5 years, or then you have to get a master's. Then you have to like work for 3 to 5 years to then be able on the field, then to be able to go back to become a nurse practitioner. Like it's an 8 to 10 year deal.
So you don't, in the state of Kansas, you don't have to get a master's before going to NP school. The master's is NP school. So like here, and actually you can just be a registered nurse and then go to NP school. Some programs require a bachelor's of science in nursing, which is why I would never go to NP school, because the majority of programs require you to have a bachelor's of science in nursing. So I didn't have a bachelor's of science in nursing. So that's why they say it's absolutely harder to get into PA school than it is to NP school, because there's way more programs for nurse practitioner than there are PA. So it's easier to get in. Plus, I would argue that nurse practitioner school is much easier than PA school because you can work. Yeah. You don't have to sacrifice your life to rotations for an entire year. They only go on rotations like 2 days a week. And we are in rotations every day for an entire year. Whereas nurse practitioners, they have online classes, and a lot of their online classes are a lot different than ours. To my understanding, they do a lot more about nursing philosophy and, but their approach to medicine, to my experience has been pretty much the same, which is why I think it's interesting when they're always like, well, they're trained different.